Mac guys here on Birds 365. Appreciate you streaming in. It's a bye week for the Eagles. A earned, deserved bye week for the Eagles. They get to kick back, quasi-relax. Players get to relax. The coaches are still in there every single day working there. You know what's off. Other than the time that they may spend interviewing with other teams for potential head coaching positions. Two things I want to get in before we punch Kincaid up. Number one is the coordinator thing. You guys addressed it yesterday when you had your media session with Sirianni. He said he has complete confidence, and he went through it last year with Gannon, that the interviewing process for their current coaches to potentially become head coaches elsewhere will be not an iota of a distraction, that he has faith in their guys, that their focus, their number one priority is the Philadelphia Eagles in this playoff run this year. I believe him. I think that is overstated across the board, that, oh my God, a guy's thinking about what his next job going to be. How can he focus on what he's doing? These guys can compartmentalize, and they can do more than one thing. I think it's just, in general, overstated. But you know both of these two guys, Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, because you get a chance to meet with them, talk with them all the time. Are they good at that? Can they be the guys who can
I don't think it's an issue at all. If you look at last season, Kevin O'Connell was getting the Vikings job. I mean, it's not an issue.
Right, but Kevin O'Connell's not Jonathan Gannon, nor is he Shane
No,
Steichen.
he's
Different
hard.
guys are different guys.
Yeah, and I don't even know Kevin, but I mean, Gannon is very, be where your feet are. And these guys, look, and we asked Shane back in December because Shane, it was pretty evident that Shane was going to be a hot name on the coaching carousel. We asked him about his interest there, and he was honest, and he said, sure, everybody's got ambition. People are interested. I want to talk to him about being a head coach. Nick knows it. These things are all, if you don't have ambition in that industry, you're probably not even going to be a coordinator, to be honest. There's a lot of guys who are position coaches, very good at it, and they don't have, the sort of ambition you want to go to the highest levels. Guys who get those coordinators job, they're generally already on that path. So I think the assumption is that, everything is done that day. Like you're scrambling around to get your resume right. People think of these guys have a plan. They have, if you're Andy Reid, the famous story, Andy had volumes of books with his potential staff and everything he wanted, practice schedules. He wasn't even a coordinator. He had that already set up because he knew where he wanted to go in his career. This is a multi-year thing for these guys. They have all this information at their disposal. What's today? Wednesday's the day where you can do virtual interviews in the bye week. So it'll happen today. And Gannon went through it 3 times last year. Now, different, you could say, well, the Eagles lost. They didn't play well. Well, they weren't good. Tampa Bay was a much better team. It's a different team now. We've talked about all the additions, the Reddicks, the Bradburys, the Kaiser Whites, the AJ Browns, on and on and on and on. How many additions and difference-making additions? It's a different team. I don't think they lost because Jonathan Gannon had 3 teams wanting to interview him. I think it's overblown. I think it's not that big of a deal. The bigger deal is after the season, if they get hired and they leave, and who's going to replace them, that to me is the bigger deal.
Fair enough. And one other question before we get Kincaid up here. Rumor out of New York is that the Giants are getting close to re-signing Daniel Jones as their quarterback, 3 and or 4-year deal, somewhere thereabouts. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for the Eagles?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, I give Daniel Jones a lot of credit. He's played well. I give Brian Daboll credit for, wringing everything out of Daniel Jones that other coaches weren't able to get out. But overall, I don't see him as being an elite level quarterback. I think there's a lot of limitations there. And he's a good quarterback. He's good. He's, middle of the road. And that's sort of that quarterback purgatory you always talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Can you win a Super Bowl? Everything is can you win? Everything's Ricky Bobby rules. And where are you? Now, from the Giants' perspective, it's, what do? You can't get a better quarterback. So you're pretty much, well, we got to go forward with Daniel Jones. And even middle of the road quarterbacks get paid a lot of money in this. And so they got to pay Daniel Jones a lot of money to be a middle of the road quarterback. I think that's a good thing for the Eagles.
And that looks like it may happen. And my last question for you before we punch up Kincaid. Who's going to be the starting quarterback opening week of the 2023 season for the Commanders of Washington?
I mean, obviously they have to get a new quarterback. It's not going to be Sam Howell. And that's the difficult part of that. Where are they in the draft?
After the Eagles, they're behind New Orleans' pick. So middle of the first round.
Yeah,
14, 15, 16.
Do they get enamored? That's where you get in trouble. I don't think Will Levis will last that long. Anthony Richardson, those guys are going to be first round picks. How desperate are you to push up the board? I would be very, very cautious. 16th Tone says Washington.
Right, middle of the first round. That's what
so.
I said.
Is Anthony Richardson? Does he whet your appetite? Not mine. I would look for, if I were Washington, I would look for the Derek Carrs of the world, where at least you're competitive and you build a good team around them. You can potentially, make a playoff run, maybe win a playoff game. I would go that route. It kind of depends what they want. If they want to push up the board and take a young quarterback and build for the future, you never know. Hey, we're sitting here and now everybody's dunking on me over the, because I said things in the offseason. I didn't think Jalen Hurts would be an elite level quarterback. I'm the first to raise my hand. The dishonest people are the ones. Oh, I knew Jalen Hurts was going to be an MVP candidate. Well, you're a liar. I'll say it straight to your face. So, you never know who's going to develop. Does Anthony Richardson, I don't know anything about him. Does he have a tremendous work ethic? Maybe. But does he have the want to be great? I talked about the development of TJ Edwards. A lot of that is the coaching staff. But, man, a lot of it is TJ Edwards just making himself better every single day. Every single day. Does he have that makeup? If he has that makeup, he can improve. But, these are all questions that still I would lean on the veteran guy who you at least, and no Carson Wentz types. I mean, Derek Carr can play. It's just a matter of, how high he can take you. I'd go if I were Washington, I'd go in that direction.
Well, at one point, Carson Wentz could play too. We're just too many years removed from it, and people overlooked the last couple of seasons that they had. Oh, we will get back to 2017 certainly. Without a problem. Yeah, it hasn't happened. And Derek Carr's not nearly that far removed from being a pretty damn good quarterback. So I'm in agreement with you there. But and hey, the Giants are going to the playoffs. More power to them. The Commanders finished at 500 right there again. They weren't god-awful. There were some god-awful teams in the NFC. It's a good thing. If Daniel Jones is staying as the quarterback of the Giants and the Washington Commanders are trying to figure it out as they go along, that's good news for the Eagles going forward. All right, quickie timeout. Our buddy, Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Board. He's going to join us.